The world of cartoons has been around for quite some time, but even though we got very acquainted with many characters that appear in these, some of them are less known for their faces than for their characters. Interestingly enough, cartoon creators decided not to show certain characters' faces for various reasons. So today, we will look at a list of cartoon characters who secretly revealed their faces. Number 1. Mrs. Sarah Bellum. Let's start this list with quite a legendary character whose face we never saw. Instead, it is her beautiful body, impeccable dressing style, and gorgeous hair that has stuck in our minds. Blossom, Buttercup, and Bubbles enjoyed the gentle care of this woman all the time, but we still never saw her face. The Powerpuff Girls, the result of an experiment, turned out to be quite a success. They were very strong, but they still had such reliable characters supporting them that they couldn't fail to beat the evil. Because of how important Mrs. Bellum's role is, she is sometimes even called the fourth Powerpuff Girl, and we really couldn't say no to that. How lucky the universe of this cartoon was to have such a gorgeous character supporting the mayor. She makes sure that everything that needs to be done gets done while remaining in the shadows. The cartoon started out in 1995, and we still had to wait a long while before we could get even a glimpse of what Mrs. Bellum's face may look like. Imagine how many hoops people drawing the character had to jump through to avoid showing her face, even in scenes that included a lot of action from this character. After being on air for 10 years, a TV special was made on the anniversary of this very successful cartoon, and indeed, it brought us something very special. This was the moment that for the first time, we had a chance to glimpse Miss Sarah Bellum's gorgeous face. The short frame that revealed her face taught us that besides an amazingly fit body, she appears to have a nice round face with big lips and soothingly big eyes. Number 2, Benedict Uno. The next character, whose mysterious face we will reveal today, starred in a cartoon called Kids Next Door. This animated series is about 5 kids who fight against a secret organization while subtly sending the message that teenagers shouldn't allow adults to entirely take over their interesting world. As true freedom fighters, these kids resort to many advanced technological gadgets and find creative ways to advance their ideas. The character known as Father or Benedict Uno is the dreadful figure we are demystifying today. Not much is given to us throughout the cartoon about his character. His figure is recognizable only through the silhouette with a pipe in his mouth and fearsomely shining eyes. He truly is as mysterious as they come, and his evil doing is following him everywhere he goes. Besides terrorizing his own children, which could be another hidden lesson in this cartoon, he's trying to spread the influence onto the 5 protagonists, whose adventure we follow. As Season 1 was coming to an end, there was a big reveal. This shady character is shown slouching in the chair, which he always loved menacingly turning around in when presented as a shadow. Weirdly enough, this reveal seems to have removed his creepiness and given him somewhat of a nerdy look. Besides the hairstyle and the pipe that we could easily recognize him for, he appears to have other features that make him seem nerdy. The red glasses covering tiny eyes and a bow tie seem to have taken away some of the dramatic sense that his shadowy form brings forth. Number 3. A woman from Tom and Jerry. While the previous 2 characters were quite legendary, is there more of an iconic duo than Tom and Jerry, the stars of what is now a classic cartoon featuring the endless chase between the 2 main characters. Their love-hate relationship and playfully ignoring the laws of physics are what brought joy and inspired the imagination of countless kids. This cartoon has been around for quite some time, and the entire time it kept balancing between chaotic and funny situations, keeping those watching it at the end of the chair. If you were a fan of Tom and Jerry and you're watching this list, you're probably already aware that the character whose face is essentially never seen is even known as Mommy Two Shoes. This aptly given nickname explains exactly how she's remembered. Instead of seeing her face, only the two shoes sometimes come around, potentially pointing out that the whole cartoon is indeed adjusted to the perspective of a cat and mouse. This apparently hard-working woman cares for the house and often interrupts the ruckus when it goes over the edge. A comedic twist usually follows her appearance, as she often interrupts the never-ending chase. But what could the face of this woman look like? We will see in a second. Imagine how surprised people were once it happened that an episode showed this character fully, her face and all. But while some enjoyed the thrill of discovering how her face looked, for others, this felt like racism associated with black housekeeping women. This is why, in future shows, even the tone of the character's skin was changed, and her face wasn't shown again. Number 4, Cow and Chicken, Mom and Dad. The next show that we will talk about is also quite a famous one. Same as the two characters that it revolves around, its name is Cow and Chicken. It is a cartoon portraying these quirky characters whose adventures are as playful as cartoons shown back then could get. The open-mindedness and hilariousness of those creating the cartoon are even right there in the name, considering that the cow is called Cow, the chicken is called Chicken, and their main nemesis is addressed as the red guy. When you have already created such hilarious characters, we aren't surprised that the owners of the two mischiefs are simply called Mom and Dad. These two figures are also part of the eccentric family, and their faces are seldom shown. Most of the time, we can see only their waist and the lower part of their body. Apparently, sticking with an idea of finding humor in simplicity, the mom character is supporting and caring, while the dad is more of a relaxing guy who lets them have fun however they prefer. We still can say that even though it's mostly their feet that we see, these characters are very expressive. We see the creativity that was placed behind sending a message about their mood by just showing two pairs of feet, whether it is that they are resting and sleeping or hilariously dancing with the cow and the chicken. Now, as we are coming up to the big reveal, let's remember once again that it's only from the waist down that we have seen these characters, and apparently, in one scene, we discovered that it could be only from the waist down that they exist or that their upper body is detachable. Since the plot itself is already weird, it could even be that these parents are imaginary characters who are actually dolls. Otherwise, how could they be parents to a cow and a chicken? Nevertheless, once we see their upper half, we recognize that they have human appearances and faces. Number 5. Kenny's Face, South Park. The good old Stan, Kyle, Cartman, and the Who Killed Kenny, the legendary figures from South Park, another cartoon that's strongly focused on humor and accepts that sometimes boundaries have to be crossed to achieve a hilarious effect. In the numerous successful seasons this show has made, it was covered with endless pop culture references, critiques of ongoing events, and various cultural aspects. And again, since it's all for good fun, who could say no to a little comedy? If you have ever stumbled upon a show, you must have noticed that one of the main characters, Kenny, is quite a weird addition to the group. He's always wearing a jacket that covers his face, and even his speech is muffled. We can only identify him by the orange jacket that he always wears. What further takes away from this character's persona is the bad habit he has of getting killed in unbelievable and unexpected ways. The character keeps dying in the most hilarious of ways, so much so that it isn't even surprising to his friends when it happens over and over. As he kept being mysterious for many episodes, people began imagining what his face could look like. They wondered if it could be hiding something amazing, scary, or unexpected. All of these speculations were blown away when, in an episode in which Kenny took off his hat. What this move revealed wasn't any monster-like feature, but instead, an entirely normal-looking boy. Well, normal in terms of South Park design. He has no odd features, and the only specific detail is that he appears to have blonde hair. Number 6. The face of Eddie's brother. Like in many other cartoons, the stars of the next one we bring you also work very hard on achieving their goals, but things usually don't go their way. Ed, and Eddie are the 3 boys who have brought us many laughs through their effort to earn themselves a pile of jawbreakers by hassling and coming up with crazy plans. For 10 years, as long as this show was broadcast, there was one character who was mentioned many times, but his face was never revealed. This character is Eddie's brother, who we were only imagining from the perspective of his younger brother. From what we have sporadically found out about him, he could be described as a classic older brother, the one who is brave, tough, cool, and often idealized by the younger sibling. While we still couldn't say that his character wasn't awesome, as it often happens with idolizing someone, he turned out to have other, less positive characteristics as well. This character, who even lacks a name and is only referred to as Eddie's brother, appears in the movie that followed the show. When Eddie's brother showed up, he turned out to be a bit much. Instead of having only the positive qualities, knowledge, and abilities, he turns out to be, quote, a bully. It certainly gives a sad twist when we compare the way that Eddie described this character and how we found him to be. He may be cool in his younger brother's eyes, but it didn't take long for us to realize that this may be just his perspective. Number 7. Dr. Claw from Inspector Gadget. No matter how you look at it, Inspector Gadget is one of the most iconic and known detectives in the world of cartoons. Besides his quick thinking and sharp mind, the endless gadgets he is known for proved quite useful in his adventures. Even though he has many great qualities, he isn't depicted as perfect. Instead, he is often quite clumsy, and were it not for his niece Penny and her loyal dog, he probably wouldn't have made it very far. When such a rational character is placed on one side of the story, what else can one expect in the other corner than a villain who leads an organization named MAD? Symbolically, we could say that it is a battle of sanity and insanity, and Dr. Claw definitely owns up to his part. When we look at what this legendary villain gives to the audience, we will realize how ingeniously he was planned. Sitting in a chair marked with the letters MAD clearly foreshadows the state of the man's mind. He is often accompanied by a cat that they successfully use to add to the spookiness of any scene when he appears. From episode to episode, this murky guy kept repeating in his very deep and menacing voice his plans and schemes to take over the world and defeat the man standing in his way, Inspector Gadget. His metal glove also adds to the intimidating presence that is successfully sewn into this character. Staying consistent in their determination not to show this character's face in the cartoon, it was the video game, the live-action movie, and the doll that made the big reveal. As one could expect, even his face looks mad, and his hair appears to have gone grey from all the evil plottings and machinations he had set forth. Number 8. Wizard Kelly. Admittedly, the next character we demystify isn't as menacing as the one from the previous cartoon. This time, we are talking about the Proud family, a cartoon that follows Penny Proud, a young girl, and those surrounding her. These characters are mainly used to portray wholesome themes and important life lessons that include one's family, friends, and the challenges, but also the excitements of becoming a grown-up. Funny enough, the character who must be the proudest one in the show is exactly the one whose face we are rarely shown. Wizard Kelly is a very successful businessman whose career has brought him much wealth. He enjoys quite a prestigious lifestyle and probably loves the scene. However, in this cartoon, the scene isn't given to him. Instead, he's usually cut off from the nose up. In part, the reason for his face not being shown could be his height. Namely, Wizard Kelly is a former basketball player who made his wealth and became a sponsor of various events as a way to widen his influence. Like in some of the previous examples, the movie that is connected to the show brings us to the point when his face is finally revealed. Even though it happened in a very brief moment, very perceptive viewers realized that it is indeed this character's front that shows up in a few frames. Finally, once these frames were stopped, we could have a better look at them, and they didn't seem to reveal anything out of the ordinary. Still not showing the character's entire face is a very interesting move for this cartoon. Number 9. Chester's dad, the Fairly Odd Parents. In one of the previous examples, we have seen that the mum and dad in Cow and Chicken were the characters whose faces were almost never shown. In the next example, we have a similar situation. Could not showing the parent's face be some kind of a message? As we are wondering about that, we come to the cartoon called The Fairly Odd Parents. In this fantastic cartoon, we can see Timmy Turner, a boy whose adventures and explorations of his wonderful childhood are supported by fairy beings Cosmo and Vanda. The character whose face wasn't shown wasn't cut off like in the rest of the examples. Instead, it is intentionally covered by a paper bag that Mr. Bucky McBadbat carries over his head. Interestingly enough, this is also a former athlete, similar to the previously explored character. Unfortunately, his success wasn't as well known, and a very sad story is hidden behind the symbolic bag. Apparently, Chester's dad was an unsuccessful baseball player, which made him quite unpopular in his surroundings. The plastic bag seems to be a way that he decided to bear this burden. By hiding his face from the world, he avoids the unpleasant reality and the embarrassment that comes with it. Once his face was finally revealed in an episode, we realized that not only is this guy witty, but he is also drawn to be quite handsome. Number 10. Kakashi Hatake. Okay, by now, we have seen many cartoon characters who secretly revealed their faces. Without further ado, we bring you one of the most iconic, hidden faces in anime history, Kakashi Sensei. Kakashi Hatake is one of the strongest and most wholesome characters to appear in the popular anime series Naruto. He was Naruto's sensei, and we believe that over time, he even became one of his closest friends. Besides being very dangerous when he gets serious, Kakashi is known for enjoying romance novels and being quite goofy when the situation allows him to. For most of the anime, his face and one of his eyes are covered. While there is an easy explanation for why he wears his hidden leaf headband over his eye, the reason for covering his face is a mystery. Specifically, Kakashi is known by another name, the Copy Ninja. The reason for this is that he actually has a Sharingan, which he very well utilizes to steal jutsu from other ninja and use it against them in a fight. Still, we come back to the question at hand: why would this ninja keep his face covered? There were many guesses through time and speculations that he could have a huge scar or some imperfection about his mouth, teeth, or nose. However, all of these suspicions were disbanded as he took off his mask in one episode. People ended up being quite mesmerized as he is, according to some, quite a handsome anime character. Even though he is very well recognized for his cool masked look, it seems he also has a pretty face hidden below it. Number 11. Killer One Piece. The next anime character whose face reveal we bring you comes from one of the most popular anime of all time. It is virtually impossible not to be familiar with One Piece, considering that this anime show has been airing since 1999 and has over 1,000 episodes. For those that aren't too familiar with it, we can mention that the name of this anime, One Piece, is a reference to a treasure that the whole pirate world is trying to find. It was left behind by a pirate king who, before his execution, shouted out to his fellow pirates that he had left it all out there in the world. Many pirate crews have given a shot at locating this treasure, as finding it would make one a king of the pirates. One of these crews is called Kids Pirates, and it includes a character with quite a menacing name, Killer. This fierce and skilled fighter wears a helmet for the whole time, making his appearance unknown throughout the anime. What makes him look even more frightful are the two sights attached to the side of his arms. They can rotate at an amazing speed to deal a devastating blow. It was quite a tragedy that brought us the first images of this pirate's face. After eating defective devil fruit with devastating side effects, he goes mad and becomes known as Kamazo, the manslayer. After losing his sense of self, it seems he no longer needs the mask, and this is when we get the chance to find out what's below. Even though the madness has taken over and he has a maniacal smile, we could wonder whether he had the same expression even before this incident. Number 12, Inosuke, Demon Slayer. Moving from one of the longest-running anime series to quite a recent one that made no less of a boom, we come to Demon Slayer, an anime that has gained such popularity that it is easily found even in movie theaters around the world. The main character of the show is called Tanjiro, who became a demon slayer, a special samurai unit that, as the name suggests, deals with demons. His path took him from being a boy who lived in a small village to being on the front lines and fighting these immortal creatures. On this long journey that the anime follows, he has met a few other young demon slayers who, like him, are aiming to rid the world of the demons. Saying that these crew members are peculiar doesn't even get close to explaining it. One of these friends is called Inosuke Hashibira, and he is quite a wild card who constantly wears a boar's head mask despite never wearing a t-shirt. This not only shows his wild nature, but the mask that he wears also tells about his past. Since Inosuke was raised by wild boars, the head from which his mask is made is that of his boar mother. Throughout the show, we see that he is clearly quite rough around the edges, and the lack of human contact is easily recognizable. Simply put, he has the behavior of a brute, so people expected a face that would go alongside this personality to be hidden by the mask. However, when the mask came off in one of the episodes, what was left behind was one of the most gorgeous male faces that were drawn for this anime. Besides not matching his rugged appearance, it is also quite an effeminate beauty that he has. These are all the unseen faces from anime and cartoons that we wanted to share with you today. Thank you for joining us on this journey, which may have evoked nostalgia for some. We hope it may even inspire some to revisit these shows or explore them for the first time. In terms of cartoons, today we did something that Scooby-Doo loves doing. Together with you, we unveiled the true identities of many characters.